Everybody in Birmingham knows Asha Bhosle.
Yeah,
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 we've grown up surrounded by Indian culture, Indian music, Indian food, and it's never going to be any different. It's ever since the 50s when the Asian influence came to Birmingham, very much Birmingham. It's been part of our cultural heritage, just as we've absorbed Jamaican music, we've also absorbed, even without necessarily knowing who the artists are. We just absorb the music because we hear it on a daily basis. Just the same as we eat Indian food on a daily basis.
For all film related interviews, reviews, and content, please like and subscribe to Puja Talwar. You can also follow me on Twitter and on Instagram.
Jimmy, Matt, and Robin, thank you so much for joining me. And can I say I'm having a fangirl moment of sorts because from my cassettes to my CDs, and now when we have Spotify and other streaming platforms, what remains intact is my UB40 playlist.
What's a cassette?
Have you got those cassette?
I'm really
Oh,
joking.
I know. I just got that. So
Yeah.
on the upside, yeah. But just amazing the timelessness of your music. Generations have grown up humming it, and the generations after also have been introduced to it. What is the secret?
No.
If you knew the secret, then you'd bottle it and you'd have a number one hit every time.
Yeah.
You don't
What's
don't
it
have
really?
a secret. We just make the music we love and hope that our fans love it too. And luckily, we have a very broad and very loyal fan base who love what we do. Thank God for that, because
Yeah.
without them, we'd be nothing. So, it's pure luck that, as far as we're concerned, it's pure luck that we make the sound we do, because it's not by design.
No.
It's we make the music because we're a group of guys who make music together, and the music we make happens to have a loyal following. It's aren't we the lucky ones? We're still doing it 40 years later.
Really? Yes. And Matt, welcome to UB40. This was a big announcement. So I'm really honored that I have you here. So
Thank
yes,
you.
You've been following them, and how do you now, since you're part of this band, what is UB40 for you?
Growing up, UB40 were just everywhere. I'd be listening to them in the back of my parents' car, like on the way to, a family holiday to Butlins and things like that. And yeah, they've just had this massive, massive influence on not only, the music around Birmingham, but just everything. It's a soundtrack to people's lives. UB40 really is, and to now be a part of that is incredible. They've done so much to influence my music, and now I get to kind of step into the role as their lead singer. It's the biggest honor that could be, asked of someone.
Totally. And also, Robin and Jimmy, with now Matt in the house, can we expect something different, or
Well, I hope not too different. The whole idea is that we pick Matt because we think he's a good fit. We think that we can still have the UB40 sound, even though we have a new singer. We're still the same band, and we believe that Matt is a good addition, and we'll add to the sound, but keep it UB40. That's the plan, anyway.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Well, waiting to see that. Yes. So I'm in Bigga Baggariddim. I did hear this, music, and we all do need the good vibes, especially in this time. So could you tell us a bit about that? Because, all your fans, what can they expect? Because I know it was out 2 weeks ago, but how did this come about? Because it's got influences from all over. So what was that like, collaborating with so many musicians?
Go on, Jim.
Oh yeah, it was what it was. Thanks. It was Yeah, I mean, we've done it before. We did it. We released an album called Baggariddim years ago, 1986, I think it was, which was mainly showcasing Birmingham rappers and DJs and local artists. But then we decided a couple of years ago, when we were working on the last album, which is For the Many, it was going to be like a 3-album package where we were going to do For the Many. It would be a dub version, and then we do a collaboration with the backing tracks from that album. And we decided to collaborate in a more global way than we did before, because over the years we've met artists like House of Shem in New Zealand. We met the Reggae Rajas in India when we were there a few years ago. They opened for us. And so we decided to put this collaboration together because we were in lockdown. One of the reasons we couldn't do any gigs, and we couldn't really even get in the studio together because there was too many of us. We would be breaking the rules for people gathering. So the only thing we could do was to send a load of backing tracks out to friends, and other artists, and see what they would come up with. And as it turned out, they came up with some strokes of genius. So we put every track on the album.
Fantastic. And also, we speak about inclusivity now. I think UB40, I mean, we can go back 4 decades later, was one of the first bands to be inclusive, and also, addressing social and political, issues vis-a-vis their music. How has the journey been since when you started? And for those of you who don't know, I mean, this is to my viewers, UB40 actually comes from the unemployment bond from 40. I mean, when I was reading up back in the days, I was very intrigued by the name of the band. So how has it changed over the years? It's been, over 4 decades, and we have seen a lot of changes. Also the way we have been consuming music, and also, you've also made strong statements vis-a-vis through your compositions.
Yeah, we don't think there's been a great deal of change at all, really. Certainly not politically. The same things that upset us when we were young men, the things that we were shouting about on our first records, are the things we're still shouting about now, And our last album, For the Many, was as political in its content as our first album, Signing Off, was. This collaboration album isn't, but that's because they're not our songs. They're the collaborators' songs. So lyrically, they're not the same. But when we write our own albums, they're just as political, because we don't believe anything's changed. We're still, we're not angry young men now. We're angry old men, but we're still angry.
I don't know. What about the other young man there? Is he angry?
Oh, he's still young.
Oh, he's still an angry young man. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a young man. Yeah.
But Matt, do you resonate with what UB40 stands for? Because it's not just music; it's also philosophy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you listen to the songs off those first albums, all the albums, and we are literally still angry about the same things. It's like you put on these songs and they're talking about exactly what's going on now, politically and socially, and it's fascinating to me, absolutely fascinating, and
depressing at the same time.
You see, he's still young enough not to be disappointed.
That's it. Yeah, I mean.
But you will, it'll come, don't worry.
As people, we could be disappointed with what's around you. But as I said in the beginning, I was just telling somebody that your music has comforted me. It's healed me. There is a UB40 song for every moment. If you're mellow, if you're happy, if you just want to, just have a drink and relax. It's red wine. And if you're feeling soppy, that can't help falling in love with you. And if it's Kingston Town, that place, if you just want to, take a hike down the wilderness. Anything you can share about it? Because I still remember when I Can't Help Falling in Love with You came out, the song was way more popular than the movie. And everyone only remembers the song. And I think, wasn't that the Sharon Stone movie? And it apparently was not for the film. It was for honeymoon in Vegas, right?
That's
How
right.
did that happen? How did that happen?
We were asked to make to do the song for the movie Honeymoon in Vegas, which the soundtrack of that movie was all Elvis songs, Elvis Presley songs. So we were asked to do that track for the movie, and then in the end, they didn't use the track. They used Bono did a version of it from U2. He did a version of the song as well, and they took that. So we had the song left. It sat on the shelf for months, and then the producers of Sliver got in touch with us, the Sharon Stone movie, and said, could we use it on our movie? And of course we said, yeah, sure. And that then got it released as a single, and then it went #1 in 30 countries, you know. So that was, again, it's, it's not by design, it's always by accident with us. Well, with anybody, I think.
Yeah.
But like according to Eastern philosophy, they'll say it's destiny. Every song has its destiny, and that was the destiny of that song. And similarly, Red Red Wine, I mean, you would say Neil Diamond, but the song that comes to mind is, of course, UB40.
I think people think that we wrote that song. I think of all songs, I know that Can't Help Falling in Love was popular, but I think with Red Red Wine, I think because it's not such a well-known song as Can't Help Falling in Love, kind of everybody knew it from Elvis and Andy Williams or whatever. With Red Red Wine, it was a less known song. So I think the first time people heard Red Red Wine was when we sang it, not when Neil Diamond sang it. So I think people think it's synonymous with us, you know, that we wrote that song. So
absolutely.
It's
we didn't even know the Neil Diamond version, you know.
No, we didn't.
We'd never heard it when we recorded Red Red Wine. We were covering an earlier reggae version of it from the 60s, 69, I think, by Tony Tribe, a Jamaican guy, and that was the reggae version that we knew. We never knew anything about a Neil Diamond version, and we only found out it was written or it was owned by Neil Diamond for publishing, because obviously it came up the name N Diamond, and we were going, is that Neil Diamond? Can that possibly be Neil Diamond? And it turned out it was.
Awesome. Well, for me, Red Red Wine is always UB40. And now, since as you've called yourselves the angry old men, and we have an angry young man here with us, could you tell me how your journey? How has music changed? How has the landscape changed? As I was talking about, first we had the record players, then we had the cassettes, and then now also with recording labels and becoming really rogue, and the big guns coming into music. How has it changed? Has that impacted you as artists at any level?
Massively.
Yeah.
Records don't sell anymore, in the same way. And the result of that is that the artist earns very little money from records. Even if they sell a lot of records, they still don't earn a lot of money from it. Unless they're one of the half dozen artists that are really, really pushed by the major record labels. 90% of musicians earn peanuts for their record sales. And that's how it's changed. So what it means is it's kind of gone full circle, and bands have to go back on the road, Bands have to perform live. If they want to make a living as musicians, then the way to do that is as a live musician. So if you can't cut it live, you're not going to make a living. As simple as that.
And I think that's the point in the end, is that like anybody can make a record. All you need to do is spend a few £100 really on a computer, £1,000 on a computer, and you've got the facilities to make your own record. So anybody can make a record, but not everybody can then get up on stage and reproduce that record in a way that sounds acceptable. You have to have a certain amount of skill to do that live, to get up on stage and perform live, whereas you don't need that many skills to make a record. You just need to be lucky, and that record could be a hit, and it took half an hour to do, But in the end, what separates the men from the boys is the ability to get up there as an ensemble, as a group, and perform in a way that sounds like music, and that's not easy to do.
I agree with you. And what does Matt have to say to that? The young one, the young gun.
I guess, yeah, for me, it's like, yeah, the young angry guy. Yeah, I just like, from being in bands that have been kind of playing on the live music scene for quite a while, I have seen how, how much effort you have to put in to constantly be going, right, we need to have another tour booked, we need to have another gig booked, we can't stop, because if we stop, we're going to run out of money, and then we can't, record the songs. And it's just a very vicious circle when it comes to new artists, new bands. They can't get their names out there as easily, I don't think. Well, I mean, they can get their name out there a lot easier with the technology that we have now and the reach that they get. But yeah, it's difficult for new and upcoming artists to get that, to get on the ground running and really make a start.
And if you want to sign a record label with one of the major companies, you have to give everything away. You don't earn like you used to for the record sale. When we first started, people earned very little for records, and over the years it got better and better, and now it's gone full circle. It's now back to the band, the artist is earning very little for every record sale, and the big earners are the record label, because now they don't just take the vast majority of the money from the record, they take your merchandise, they take a percentage of your live work, of your receipts for live work, which it's disgusting what they're doing. It's unbelievable. They have a piece of your publishing, they have a piece of everything that should be yours. You're now having to sign away to the record label just to get a deal.
Absolutely.
It's really disgusting the way the whole business has gone, really.
True. And this is the same problem in India. But on a lighter note, I remember Ali, in an interview to BBC, had said that how he was influenced by Asha Bhosle and Mohammed Rafi, and also Birmingham is where a large, majority of the percentage of the population has been Indian. So any Indian influences of our music that you have been influenced by our singers, and since in India the other problem the singers face is film music. That's another area that they have to, juggle with. But
everybody in Birmingham knows Asha Bhosle. Yeah. We've grown up surrounded by Indian culture, Indian music, Indian food, and it's never going to be any different. It's ever since the 50s when the Asian influence came to Birmingham, very much Birmingham. It's been part of our cultural heritage, just as we've absorbed Jamaican music, we've also absorbed, even without necessarily knowing who the artists are, we just absorb the music because we hear it on a daily basis, just the same as we eat Indian food on a daily basis. It's just become part of our diet. Everybody goes for an Indian now, it's just normal. And that's only happened, during our lifetime. But it is now very much part of our culture. That's just natural, It's culturalized, cross-culturalization. That's the way it should be.
True.
Just as Indian pop music is influenced by Western pop music, it's the same thing. And there's a growing reggae audience in India as well. I understand.
Absolutely. Yes, there is. And any Indian artist that you've been influenced by, because no longer is Indian music even like in the UK just Bhangra music. There's a whole lot of
tons of Bhangra music. Tons of Bhangra music we heard, but again, I hear tracks that I know and recognise, and I have favourite Bhangra tracks, but I don't necessarily remember who the artists are. Even if a friend tells me who the artist is, I won't necessarily remember that, because I don't think I've ever bought a Bhangra tune. I don't think I've ever bought a Bhangra record, but I've played them a lot. And
wow.
we've worked with Indian artists. We've worked with Hunters, who's a well-known Indian artist over here. We've worked with a doll drumming troupe, the Doll Blasters. So we've had doll drummers on record, and we've had them play with us live as well. So yeah, there's lots of different influences from India.
Jimmy, what about you? Any
Yeah,
favorite?
well, I remember the first Indian family on the road in the 1960s, who moved in. All the older English people were kind of dying off, and the next door neighbor was an old English guy, and he died. And the next thing you know, there's an Indian family moved in next door. This is early 1960s. And that was an indication of what was happening in the area. There was this influx of people from different parts of the world, and mainly India, of course, and Pakistan, of course. And that it brought the area alive in an area that was in decline after the Second World War. It brought those areas were revitalized, and I remember the first Indian supermarket, and the Indians took over the local cinema, and it was just it was like being in Little India. They would say Little India, and it was a beautiful thing, And when we first went to India, when we did the Bollywood Awards years ago, there was the familiarity that I hadn't really understood, but there was a familiarity around me of the aesthetics of posters and colours and billboards, and that was something that I'd experienced already in Birmingham, So it was a little bit of coming home in a way, to visit India, because there was so much Indian influence in the culture, in the way we grew up, when we were little, So
well, when I was 8 years old and we moved into a house in Balsall Heath where we grew up, we had the top half of an old Victorian house, and the bottom half was an Irish family. And on the left-hand side was a Jamaican family called the Hippolytes, and on the right-hand side there was an Indian family called the Singhs. And that was an absolute. That's if you went anywhere in our area, that's what it was like. That was if you grabbed 8 people off the streets in Balsall Heath, they would look like our band, with a mix of all kinds of races and and mixes, and I mean that's the culture we grew up in.
Absolutely, and your music reflects that. I wanted to ask Matt, any Indian music artist, film that you watched, or not so?
I mean, yeah, personally, I think I'm quite similar to you, Robin. Like I hear it everywhere and I love it, and then I'll go on my phone and I'll go, right, who's this? I need to listen to this again. You can get your phone to listen to music now and just tell you who it is.
Shazam.
Stuff like that, and I'll try and catch it and listen to it. And so yeah, I love all kinds, but I really like Anushka Shankar at the moment, daughter of Ravi Shankar. Incredible, absolutely incredible. And yeah, but personally, I need to do more research on Indian artists, I think. So if you've got any suggestions, bring them.
You have the two stalwarts with you. And anyways, how, all of you are so different. How does it work with you all? I mean, everybody is so different, So how does each one of you keep their individuality and identity when you create music? How does it work?
Well, we are very different, but we're very similar too, because we grew up in the same streets, so we have the same influences, and we may pull in slightly different directions because everybody's an individual, but that's the joy of being in a band, is that everyone pulls you in a slightly different direction. What you have to do is be prepared to be pulled, and you do your own thing, but allow everybody else to do their own thing too, and the end result is what we do. It's not by design. It's not by design. It's just by collaboration.
Yeah. Also, we also made sure that we split everything equally, and I think that gives everybody individually a sense of belonging and a sense of ownership to what we're doing. If it was just a couple of songwriters getting paid the most and then the others were getting paid by session or whatever, you wouldn't have that same collaborative influence. whereas we really are genuinely all equal, musically, financially, you know, and status-wise, we all have that equality. So, you know, we're all individuals inside that, you know, that group. So I think it's very empowering to be part of something where you've got several people all working together towards one thing. That's an empowering thing to be part of, you know.
I totally agree with that. And before we go, I want to ask each one of you your favorite UB40 track.
Oh,
or any. I know it's tough. I mean, here if I
we get asked this all the time. We should write a list, shouldn't we? Really, but we do get asked this all the time. It's an impossible question. When you've recorded 250 songs, it's
okay. This is the most challenging a memory that now you look back and think, "Oh my God, we actually went through making that song." Okay, which would that song be then?
Well, the thing is, your favourite changes from week to week because you remember certain things, because you experience certain things, or you know your memory is triggered, and you play a song you haven't played for a while, you know, even a couple of years, and you play it and realise how much you like that song, you know. But there are always certain songs that, you know, I will always love and always be proud of, and one of the ones I always go to is Sing Our Own Song. That's, for me, one of our great songs. I love the video, you know, that we made, and it was also, it reminds me every time I hear it of going to South Africa and playing to over 200,000 people in 3 concerts, and having them sing the lyrics back to us of a song that was banned in the country, you know. It wasn't played on radio, and we thought nobody knew the song until we got to South Africa after we'd observed the cultural boycott for the first 15 years of our career. To then go to South Africa to have the live record. We still hold the live record for attendance in South Africa, and to have them sing your songs back to you, which are songs about South Africa, you know, and about apartheid. To have them sing that back to you was just the most wonderful goosebump moment, you know, hairs up on the back of your neck. So, yeah, that song holds a special place in my heart. But I've got many, many favourites, really.
What about Jimmy and Matt?
Oh, well, I thought I was going to get away with just Rob answering that question. You know, I think it's over 500 tunes we've recorded.
Wow.
According to our Uber fans who tell us all about what we've done. We forget, and our fans tell us what we've done, and, you know, and apparently it's over 500 tunes we've recorded. So who knows, you know, I mean, I have a different one every time. If somebody else could ask me the question and I'd give a different answer, but I suppose I like Broken Man off the last album, off For the Many. I really like that tune. I think we did a really good job with that. So that's one of my favourites.
Okay, Matt, since they're having difficulty picking up their favorite, I don't blame them. 500 tunes, it's impossible. And if they pick up one, then they would be unfair to the remaining 499. Exactly. You tell me your favorite.
I mean, again, I can't tell you a favorite because, like them guys, my favorite changes. But I'm going to give you 2 because my 2 favorite ones to sing at the moment, because I've been practicing them, are Cherry O Baby. I mean, I've always loved that song. You know, it's always been one of my favorites. But at the moment, it's got to be, you know, my favorite classic. And I'm All Right, Jack. I'm All Right, Jack off For the Many was, brilliant song.
Which is the only song by Duncan that you're singing. That's actually a Duncan lyric.
Yeah.
And it's the only one that you sing of Duncan's. So that's good. He'll like that.
Lovely. I so enjoyed myself. You might call yourself the angry old men, but I've also gotten old listening to UB40, but I think they're still young at heart because that's what your music is all about. And well, I'm hoping for another 500 tunes, another 4 decades. So, you know, we can all meet when we are like, you know, really old. And no, we'll never be old. When you have
another 4 decades.
Never be old. But thank you so much. Just keep making the music and hoping to see you in India soon. Any plans once travel opens up?
2022, we're almost certainly coming to India, or we're hoping to. But, you know, it's fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
COVID permitting, and promoter inviting us. That's what we need.
Yeah.
I'm sure. You have no idea the fan base that you have here. I mean, what's remained intact about other than UB40's music is the fan base. That hasn't changed. Thank you so much.
Okay. Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All the very best. Thank you. Bye.
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 If you've liked this interview, please like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram.